Hi guys.
So
Okay, so
this parenting, we're going to be coming to you because the thing is that the reason, like when Kat and I completely began hanging out, we both were so alone in motherhood, and there were so many things that we would talk about to each other that were kind of like private inner thoughts that we didn't feel like we could ask or talk about with everyone around us. And that's when we realized if we have all of these things that we don't know if we're normal, or we don't know if it's normal or if our kid is normal, then other people are feeling the same things and they don't necessarily have a safe place that they can actually talk about it.
it's called getting back to the gut.
Get the gut. So
Everyone's in the gut.
we wanted all of you guys to reach out with any sort of things that are going on in your parenting, not exactly like asking for parenting advice, but talking about a parenting issue, and we'll just weigh in on if we have any experience or if we can let you know you're normal or not.
It's kind of like peer-to-peer conversations where, you have these conversations and you feel like you're unsure of, you just hear the way other people are doing it, and then it gives you ideas to try. And because the whole point of parenting that has never changed since we had babies was you'll do what works and resonates with you, which isn't the same way as someone else, but there's many paths to where you need to go, but everyone's path might be different, but that's okay.
And then we're also like fielding all new information that's coming through from like science and psychologists and all that.
Oh yeah, because we have the common parent, which is boom shakalaka laka
our
boom.
experts are great, but I just saw an article come up yesterday, our conversation, saying, during our raising of our children, there was a lot of talk about gentle parenting. And now they're saying now that we have some teenage kids that have been raised in gentle parenting, has it done more harm than good?
Yes. Yes.
And I think we're bringing up because we're like, oh, wow. Well, these teenagers, when, they didn't want us to say the word no. Don't say no to them. Don't get mad at them. If your kid fucking like breaks down a whole like thing in the grocery store and everything smashes, and you are never allowed to lose your shit.
What did the article say? Did you read it?
It was a conversation starter.
And it was, did gentle parenting ruin a generation?
Did it do more harm than good? Not ruin. Nobody's ruined. Did it do more harm than good? Like really with this? Because I mean, if you think about the whole gentle parenting movement, like I'm sure it existed everywhere, but like when we were raised, nobody was talking about that. So all of a sudden it's this new idea that is brought to us based on research, experts, all of this. And they're like, this is actually a better way to do it. So we're like, well, obviously we're going to take this information and we're going to do it. And then you do it.
The problem is people read one line of the gentle parenting,
or
don't say
17 books about it.
Yes, but most who do it don't actually read the whole theory and go to school for the theory. They just hear like a few sound bites of what it is. Because I'm guilty of that. That's why we created the common parent, because I don't want to read a whole book. I just tell me what to do. And then you hear it and you're like, okay, so one core memory of like, don't say no sticks in your head. You're like, so I'm not going to say no. I'm just going to be calm. Even if you take one line from that whole of what you're supposed to be doing and how you bring it back around, instead of saying no, what do you say to redirect? Maybe a percentage of the people are just not saying no because
and they don't know how to refill the
no
comment. Yeah,
because boundaries are important. Like a boundary is absolutely 100% important. And I say to Nat, I am guilty of saying, is it me, a lot, because sometimes I find myself in situations where I question what I'm doing, because your kids, when they get older, begin to push and they push back on your thoughts. So they have such a voice that they make you question what you're doing, but you have to stand strong in what you're doing so you don't waver in what you're doing. And then you're around other people who influence what you're doing. You're like, oh my God, there's too much information sometimes.
It's really true. And what's really hard is when they do go from being babies and toddlers to people with voices, and sometimes they point out things that kind of make sense. And you're like, maybe you were right there.
And wait till the older ones call you out on your parenting of the younger ones,
Mhm.
and then they make you think about what you're doing there because they're really holding you accountable, and you're like,
Oh yeah, they'll be like, "You keep treating him like a baby. He's literally never going to grow up, and he's not going to." And you're like, you know, you know how much I babied you, by the way, when you were the first child and only child in the house. Like, don't. And then you're thinking, but they're all just going to think, they want to say things, and then grandparents are going to want to say things. Teachers are going to tell you things
oh gosh,
that you think might be important because they're talking about your child, and really they're going out of their way to talk about your child. That may not necessarily be right either. So
and sometimes it takes you so long to figure out what the problem, like the entanglement of, the entanglement of what you're in. So sometimes you and your child have been going through something, maybe like a rough patch or, a situation, and the entanglement of the two of you is a lot. And then you have the narratives that you've created and then they've created, and then you're like, untangling it all is, I've seen some people in entanglements for years into adulthood.
There's a lot of people that are still, people will be like, it's like a grandmother and like a daughter.
Yeah.
I remember just,
I know mother-daughters who have grown up and still have the entanglement and the issues from when they were teenagers that have carried on until their adulthood. And you can see the roles. You can see how they were when they were a teenager and how the parent is. And those people who are adults and go back to their parents' house and the roles resume like they're teenagers.
Well, I was saying that I went to some event at a house once. This is where she likes to be, right under
issues.
And I was seeing an adult, and I was there with her children and my children, and I just immediately I saw her with her mother, and we were in her mother's house, and I could just analyze it right away. I was like, wow, like this never changed.
No,
and I had the feeling that the parent felt like, I don't know what the history was, but I sensed that the parent felt that they owed the daughter something.
Like they screwed up when they were, guys, here's the thing. Okay. Gentle parenting, in a way, it makes you feel like you are in the wrong. Okay, just follow me for a second, because gentle parenting doesn't give you autonomy to make decisions, because you basically have to let them do things and then have this, I'm guilty of, in a way, of gentle parenting, and I wouldn't say like overly gentle parenting, but I would say I'm definitely guilty of erring on the side of like disappointment rather than yelling. Like,
I'm going to, just for everyone who's listening, and you're like, wait, gentle parenting. Some people are like, well, what the fuck are you talking about? And some people are like, what is it? Gentle parenting is an approach to raising children that prioritizes connection, empathy, respect, validation, and positive discipline. It emphasizes the importance of fostering a safe, nurturing environment that meets children's emotional needs while also providing clear and consistent boundaries. Now, the gentle parenting people wrote that.
Now, I think where people have lost is they don't have the clear, they think that it means no boundaries, because I see it in people's parenting now, where the boundaries are,
you can just see the kids are running the parents,
and the boundaries are just like this, like the boundaries are, here's a controversial one for you, and this is unexpected for me as a mom to say this. I think that I would rather my kids be drinking in my basement than someone else's basement. Like the whole having teenagers over and allowing them to party at 14 years old and 15 years old. I, as someone who did party and who partied in my house, but my parents weren't home when I was that age. I think that is confusing. And I think some of the parents do it because that's the cool house. I'm just saying it. I know it's probably very controversial, but I think that when you allow your kids to party and have alcohol at the age of 13, 14, 15 in your house as a way to keep them safe with their friends, I don't think you're keeping them safe. If you want to turn a blind eye and you're not supplying it, and you don't want to fight over what you'd rather them in your basement, and if they're going to sneak it in, at least make them sneak it in. Don't have a bar set up for them to walk in and pour themselves drinks at 14 years old. That's just I think that's where the boundaries have got lost. So you might be connected with them because you want them to go and be safe in your house. But by providing them alcohol, that is a very confusing line that when they fuck up, you can't get mad at them because you provided it.
I still remember the houses when we were younger that did this, but to my recollection, it was a lot less than what I hear is happening now. I don't know if it's a different neighborhood I grew up in or a different kind of
I don't remember
parents
ever providing it. I don't remember. I had never.
But
had
I do remember those houses where like my mom, like the mom's there and she knows you're drinking and she's not stopping you and she's not, you're not in trouble. Like we can drink at my house. My mom's like, it's okay. She'd prefer us to drink here than somewhere else. Like I remember that, but I also only remember of all of my friends, 2 houses that was allowed. Now I feel like it's happening all the time.
Yeah. And if you have a relationship with your child where, you're having a glass of wine with dinner, I'm not talking about that. I am talking about the intentional Friday night where you set up a bar for all of the grade 8 and 9s to come in and, and party. Like, I mean young, because I don't have older kids. So well, first of all, I would never do it just legally because I think you're fucked. We know someone who had a party. Sorry, their child was at a party. People showed up that weren't supposed to be there. A fight ensued. The cops were called. Someone was hurt that was at the party that was being hosted at and was allowed to be there. And the cops turned to the people hosting it. They did nothing wrong except supply the alcohol or had kids drinking in their house with like open containers visibly knowing that they were drinking. And the cops, I don't know what happened, but I know the cops were like, and why do you have alcohol for underage kids? So now they're in trouble if something did happen to that kid and the parents like, why the hell if they walk out that door and something happens to them, they're absolutely in the wrong for serving the kids.
I don't know if this is just like on Canada, Ontario, but like bars are also liable if someone drinks and drives leaving their bar. But for me, it's very much like I haven't spent a lot of time thinking about it because I feel like I am just so very clear like you that I know in my house, I'm just not going to allow that to happen for so many reasons. First of all, I can make the base of it is I don't want the liability in my home. I don't want to have to take care of your child. I know they also drink too much and barf. I'm not doing that. It's my evening. I might want to be in bed. I might be wanting to go out. I don't want the liability of people getting drunk in my house. And I also don't want my house to be the house where other people start stopping by that aren't invited because we all know that happens.
Oh, we have heard of parties or like get-togethers that have turned into like house trashing. I remember when we were younger, it was like once every 2 years a house would be trashed. I mean, these are local houses that are getting just trashed for the sake of having a party.
I don't even want my toilets flushed too many times.
Oh, I can't have that either.
Like, I just don't want it. So that's number one. I don't want it. Do I wonder sometimes when my kids are, as young as they are, and they're like, oh yeah, the parents are totally fine. They're actually buying the alcohol. I'm more curious because my children have said to me before, I'm going to so-and-so's house for their birthday. The mom has bought us those coolers, like not like vodka, not like wine, but like those coolers.
Yeah.
And I wanted you to know that. And I'm like, okay. And I'm still like, okay, you can go. Like, but I don't know what strikes the mom to want to do that unless the kid is like, I'm not having the party. You're not having a party for me unless you buy alcohol.
Well, yeah. Because
how do you get there? And also, why you're still young and cute and fun. You have all this energy. You can call boys. You can meet boys. Why do you also not need to be in an altered state?
Oh,
when you're so young.
Yeah, I think because you're still cute, so don't get drunk. You still look cute.
Like, you still have fun just talking. Like, you're not tired. You're not bored.
I think a lot of them are bored. Yes. I think that they don't know how to be themselves 100%. I think they don't know it's an excuse to make out with people.
I understand why the kids might want to.
Oh, why the mom?
Does the parent be like, yeah, it's a good idea?
Well, I can only talk from, hold on one second.
And by the way, I'd like to add, I don't, if you are one of these parents, I'll also say this, where I am right now. And again, guys, as parents, never forget, it's too high up on your side. I didn't move it. Just down. Yep. Yep. Yep.
Okay.
If you are the parent who is doing that, I'm probably allowing, if my child asks me to go to your house, I'm allowing my kid to go. I'm going to put it there because, they've told me before, and if there's alcohol, I'm not going to say you can't go. That's where I stand on that.
I'm not judging. I just think in terms of if we're talking about boundaries, and some parents do it, and it's like they have older siblings, and now the younger sibling grew up with the older sibling, and they've been doing it since a younger age. Like, honest to gosh, I have no judgment because, like, just for me, without even thinking of the kids legally and liability, I would just with a pool, like, hell no.
And by the way, it is happening with pools too.
Hell no.
I'm gonna have a pool party for my young teenager with alcohol. Again, I don't judge you, and I hope it turned out okay.
Yeah,
but good. I mean, like, I'm glad it's you because I'm never doing that.
No. So yeah, I think that I have heard. And I think if people were really honest with themselves, that their child being cool really matters. And quote unquote cool.
You told me this, and I guess I had never, I'd never considered. I never had a party in my house when I was younger for lots of reasons. It wasn't allowed, and I wouldn't dare. But Kat's telling me this phenomenon because I'm like, why would a parent? Because, we hear they're like, oh, so-and-so's having a party on Friday night. Okay, it's like Wednesday. So we all know that by the time Friday comes, more people are going to know through Snap where the house is and are going to show up. And if it's still on Friday night, it's not canceled. I'm like to Kat, why does a parent say yes? Like, I literally...
It's full social clout because everyone wants to be friend with the kid who gets to have the parties. It's been happening.
It?
Well, yeah. I mean, I know parents who fear their kid not being... they have never told me, but you can see it, that fear their kid not being cool in JKSK. Like, there is a definite social status of parents wanting their child to quote unquote fit in and be part of the cool crew. And whatever the cool crew is, like, talk to your kids and ask them what are the different groups, like your teenagers.
I had one last night. It was so good.
And then they'll give you actual well, there's this group, and one will be like, well, I don't necessarily have one friend group, because then there's friend groups that, like, there are definitely very active teenagers who are partying Thursday, Friday, Saturday, boyfriends, girlfriends, multiple boyfriends by grade 10, 11, having sex by grade 10,
Smoking weed during the day, drinking alcohol.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's not changed that much since we were younger. It's just our children aren't part of that. And, so she's like, well, I'm quote unquote, we're not cool. And I'm like, sorry, let's backtrack to what cool is, because I had to really decipher, because I get it. Yeah, that's the cool kids. If you're going to the parties, all the people, you're at everyone knows that you're at that party, you're cool.
I have to say,
you're popular.
Side note, we went to a high school, and I did in lots of ways get involved in different groups in the high school. Just, I think I must have gotten it from like my, even my junior school. And then when I went to a middle school, they encourage you to get really involved. So when I went to the high school, I just did get involved because, like, a habit. And then I never really thought about the fact that none of my friends were doing any of the other things, but I ended up meeting so many different groups of people. And what was so great about our high school was that there was over 2,000 people, and there were so many. I mean, there was always going to be kids on the outside that were sitting alone having lunch. Maybe they wanted to be, maybe they didn't, but there were so many different groups of cool. Like, there wasn't just one.
Well, that's because our high school was so big.
That's what I mean. Everyone says that the high school we went to is a great school. My sister graduated from that school. She did really, really well there. I would be very hesitant to send my child there because I found it so overwhelming. At the time, I had a great time.
You were a number.
What I thought was beautiful was that there was the drama crew, the music crew, the football guys, the track people, the student council, the people who partied.
Yeah, I would say there's no cool crew.
I know, because the people that were, where they wear all black, the big goths, they actually thought that the people who were partying were losers.
Yeah.
So there is something, it's like, I don't want to send my kid to a school that's as big as that, but there really is something great about having a lot of different options to fit in.
Social media kind of screws it too, because I think social media highlights
different groups.
and you're at a party, you're not at a party, like they know who, like there's like the sober kid is like not necessarily going to be invited to everything because like why would we invite the sober kid to, like they're just going to be like boring. I think that I don't know what it's like I'm assuming in the States it's very similar.
Yeah.
But your drinking age would be different. But I have said to all of my children, everything calms down around grade 11 and 12 because the drama begins to, they've done all the shit and a lot of them are like settling down and they get like long-term relationships and they have a boyfriend. They maybe don't want to go out as much. So it does seem to settle down and
and also they're focused on their, oh shit, my time's running out here just being a high school student. I have to either think about what kind of a job I want to have when I get out of here. What college do I want to go to? Do I want to go to university? Like if they have their head on, they're like, uh-oh.
And in terms of boundaries and drinking, I mean, this is like a huge question.
I would also be curious because we're speaking to an audience and there are people in different countries, but I would love to know from like an American and a Canadian perspective, do you think that it's better what we have, having a drinking age of 19, or do you think it's better?
And 18 in some places.
And 18 in Quebec. Or do you think it's better that they wait till 21 to drink?
The only reason I think it's better is because of driving.
It's better to be 21?
Yeah. Just because I think the driving, it gets dicey because as a 17-year-old, you could definitely have friends that were 19. And we all know they have fake IDs and go out. And they could have a license. I don't think a lot of the people in the city drink and drive.
Yeah.
But I think in the outskirts, definitely 100% drinking and driving is a way bigger problem. A lot of parents are like,
they take DDs very seriously in some, like in people that I've talked to, and they're like, well, he's the DD that night, so yada yada yada. But
we should celebrate that person.
Yes, I've always told my kids, you get free pop at the bar if you tell them you're the DD. They're like, free, like all night, like I get and as many Sprites as I want. I'm like, oh honey, you've got some growing up to do, but yes, you do.
Is that a fact?
That's the thing is, I always remember that being the thing, and I'm pretty sure that if you're at a bar and yours to seem sober,
like you buy one, they just keep refilling.
No,
I
think you get free pop. The bartender would be like, okay, yeah. Like I'm sure he'd be like, I remember hearing it was a thing, but I don't know because I've never been the DD. But
they're gonna go and be like, hi, I'm here for they're like $4.99, and they're like,
no,
it's free. It's free. No, what? Who told you that? My mom.
My mom said.
My mom said.
I think 21 is far too old to start experimenting with drinking, especially when we all know that by the age of 21, everyone is versed in drinking. I don't know how enforced it is in the States either. Oh, except for at bars and liquor stores, everybody gets ID'd, even if you're 80.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that the conversation around drinking and drugs, it's tricky because we also know people who partied and didn't stop and now have problems or have become alcoholics and have died from alcoholism. So it's tricky because you do know the people in high school who are like, oh, they're crazy, they're party animals, and kind of the party animal that everyone like loved having around never got out of it. And
you don't really, sometimes it's hard to tell.
Oh, you don't know till they're adults because it was they were normal.
Yes.
That was hilarious and they were crazy and it was a normalized behavior, and you don't know when it's a problem. And
because then sometimes it's like the biggest guy at the party. Now you hear he's the fucking CEO of this and that, and you're like, wow, he cleaned up his act.
And the other thing that I think is crazy, and I said to my kids, we get privy to a lot. We're very close with our children. Sometimes I think I'm too close because I really don't want to know everything. Like, this is your life. You have to, when you share everything with me, it's basically like I'm your vault and I'm managing it for you. And I don't think I should be managing everything because it's like when you tell me, it's like you're also looking for a reaction and a gauge of what I'm going to say. So this is something you should also be telling your friends to see what that behavior is. Like, I really try to stay neutral when I hear things or I see things.
And to learn your own gauge.
Exactly. Like I see what you show me what people are doing, but I also don't really want to see it because I don't need to know that about that child. But I said, as close as we are, just remember that when they share these things on Snapchat, there's one of you in someone else's household showing their parents too what you're doing, being like, oh my gosh, they're such an idiot, or because they're posting themselves wasted in a bathroom, or, snapping like crazy on doing drugs, or putting on their Visco with vodka bottles at 14.
It's unbelievable.
And
everybody vaping on their snaps, all kinds. I'm like,
and
do your
Instagram.
parents know?
I don't think they do, but someone at home is showing their parent who knows your kid.
Yeah.
And that high school reputation does stick with you in terms of what kind of person you are. And my daughter said when she went to get a job this summer, they absolutely asked for all of their social media.
What do you mean?
What are your social media accounts? Because she was working with children, they absolutely followed everybody because they wanted to make sure that those kids did not end up on social media. Because if you're working with,
oh my God,
you had to sign a contract to be like, you cannot do TikToks. And
wow. Right.
crazy story.
Yeah.
One of our friends' nannies
yes
has a full social media account.
Yeah.
And their kids are on it and they did not know.
Yeah.
So it is a definite situation that people don't think about. And so when you're posting those things as an employer with children that parents can definitely go find you, you're going to go and do the big search. And if it's at your house and there's liquor photos everywhere, I'm like, this is forever, guys.
Yeah. Now, some people are really, really good at perving people online.
Natalie.
Funny story. Speaking of parenting, my daughter was starting to talk to someone. I did not expect the high school student to be on LinkedIn. But when I Googled the name, the LinkedIn came up. Of course, I clicked the link. He immediately, why is your mom checking out my LinkedIn? Why are you on LinkedIn? You're in grade 11. Good for you, by the way. Great idea. Build it up. But because I always say with LinkedIn, people are afraid to check out other people's LinkedIn because people can see that you did that. I have no shame in the game. I will look up anyone's LinkedIn. My friends will be like, I don't want to go on someone's LinkedIn. Will you go for me? I'm like, yeah, I'll go. I'll search it. I don't care because I'm like, who knows what I could be looking at you for?
Oh, yeah.
Like, who knows? Like, LinkedIn is supposed to be for business, so maybe I have a business deal ready for you. Okay.
I'm going to call you for some business.
I'm calling you for some business. But the funniest thing was, that I will perv you children. I'll perv all your parents. I'll perv all your pictures.
Voyeur.
So, yep. And I'll find out as much as I possibly can when someone new comes into our people's lives. So that also means another parent could be doing that about your child.
Absolutely.
Or you. So
absolutely.
Careful what's out there. And you better believe that Kat and I have very much considered and decided that we don't give a fuck that people could perv everything we do, listen to our podcast, read our book.
Oh, absolutely. We think about it now, unfortunately, in our age.
I know. But everything we've put out there,
it's true.
It's true. It's us. And it's
our experience.
It's not unkind and it's not mean to anybody else. And at the basis of it all, that's what matters to us the most.
And the last thing before we wrap this first Monday up is that if you are, if you have a zero tolerance, that's your policy. Mm-hmm. I think that the number one thing you can do is have a conversation. And if your kids are going to experiment, hopefully they can call you. The schools are doing a great job. Our kids' old schools about how to safely keep your kids safe if they're going to experiment, because they're most likely not going to tell you. And we actually have an amazing podcast in the Common Parent and webinar around how to teach your kids how to be safe and look out for situations, because we are in a new world where the kids don't mean to overdose, and it's happening. It's fentanyl, and this is not to scare anyone, but if you can teach them what to look for, how not to leave a friend, if they are wasted on their backs, or leave them with somebody. Any parent would be so thankful if you called them and it saved their kid's life. Mm-hmm. I hope they wouldn't get mad at you for doing the right thing. Mm-hmm. And educate your kids around keeping them safe, and that their safety will always trump their trouble. Mm-hmm.
And it will only increase the trust.
I cannot stress enough, get a journal from the Common Parent and write in it, if you write in this and tell me what you need, I will not get mad at you. I will not. This is like our amnesty journal. Write in here what you need, and I've got your back. Even the very act of that symbolizes that you're there for them. And if they have to text you and write, this is a journal entry, then you know that that's your code word for, I need your help. Please don't get mad at me, but this is a situation. So really think about that, because would you rather your kid be alive and stay safe, or be afraid and take a risk? Because ultimately that's what it comes down to. And hopefully it never does. But there are far too many situations where kids are doing risky behavior, which is a very natural thing. And how can we keep them safe in that situation the best we can when they're going to go and experiment? Let us know what you think about the Monday podcast, and
send in yours. Am I normal? Is it me? And we'll all talk about it.
Go to thecommonparent.com if you're curious about the membership or the journal. You can purchase it there, or comment journal underneath, and we can get it to you.